we'll begin the meeting then. Okay. Pursuant to the Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's orders imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, no in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted at this meeting. Town hall is closed to the public and board members will participate in this meeting remotely. And in attendance on the commission, we have John Kumbler, Benjamin Fairbank, Mike Fisher, and Leon Shreve. So we have a quorum. So we may begin the hearings. Does anyone have anything to say before we start? Okay. First, we have the town of Wellfleet.
Leon, real quick, can we just make a statement that Bromberg has requested a continuance to our first meeting in September in case anyone is on the line for Bromberg?
Okay, all right. As you just heard, the Brombergs have requested another continuation. So if you're here for that, we won't be discussing it tonight. All right, so the first hearing that we're going to have is to do with the town of Wellfleet and their desire to put a 1.9 mile water pipe down. Has anyone looked at the really interesting information that they sent out? All the big plans, and it's all very exciting. Does anybody have any problems?
Leon, we do have Tyler and Sabrina here to walk us through the project, if that's helpful.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, who would like to take a lead on that, Tyler or Sabrina?
Well, hello.
All right.
My name is Tyler Schmidt. I'm with Environmental Partners. We're the design engineer working on this project on behalf of the town. With me is Sabrina. And so we're just going to kind of walk through our submission, and we'll be here to answer any questions if anyone has any. And so I'm just going to share my screen. I will put up the application. Please let me know if you guys can see my screen.
We can.
Yes.
Okay, great. So basically, a brief overview of this project is, I'll just go right to the actual locus map because it's best. So basically, essentially what the town of Wellfleet water system currently has is, if you look at this little dashed green line here that goes this way, is a small 4-inch water main from the Coles Neck well field. And it basically runs down Old Hay Road, across Route 6, down Old Joe Road, and then all the way to Pole Dyke Road, where it basically connects with the rest of the water system. If you go further down, there's a Boy Scout. The other well field the town has is called the Boy Scout well field, which is further off the viewport of this map. And then there's the water storage tank, the school, and the fire station over this way. So essentially, the two well fields can produce the exact same amount of water. They both are registered for 100,000 gallons a day. But because this well field up here is basically hydraulically restricted by the 4-inch main, it can't really supply the same amount of water to the system as the other well field. So the solution is to basically upsize the water main to an 8-inch ductile iron pipe. And through a study and other analysis, it was basically the alignment that you have in front of you is basically what was determined to be the most appropriate solution, which is to basically, with this purple line, run an 8-inch water main from the well field down the existing alignment up until Old Trail Road, where it will then deviate and then run down along the right of way of Route 6 down to Briar Lane and then connect to Main Street. The existing 4-inch main will remain any point beyond Old Trail Road. So the extent of our project is effectively the Coles Neck well field, down Griffin Way, down Old Hay Road, across Route 6, down Old Trail Road, parallel Route 6 to Money Hill Road, and then Briar Lane, where it connects to Main Street. This map also has environmental receptors on it for your idea. Like, there's essentially wetlands that abut the roadway in several locations. And so hence why we're here. And so we just wanted to emphasize that the extent of the project is to stay within the roadway. We're trying to avoid any environmental concerns or any issues. So the entire attempt is to basically stay within the roadway. So I'll just jump right into the plans real quick. And so these are the plans that we submitted. We provided color coding for the environmental receptors that were the wetlands that were delineated by Pine Brook Consulting, just to indicate where we will be basically crossing into a buffer zone. But as you can see, like on Briar Lane right here, this is Main Street, Briar Lane. We are trying to stay as close to inside the roadway as possible, with the water surfaces basically extending just to the property lines. Every property that abuts this water main will get a water service to its property line, that will not be connected to the house in this project. There is, if any homeowner wishes to connect to the water main, there is an application process the water department requires with a hookup fee and work on private property. It's completely separate from this work. So Briar Lane, we cross down within the roadway. The only exceptions are the water services and the occasional hydrant for municipal fire protection. And then as you can see, Route 6, when we cross underneath Route 6, all of this work is under the jurisdiction of Mass DOT. They own Route 6 and Old Shore Road. So a permit has been filed with them for the access rights for this area. All crossings underneath Route 6 will be a trenchless installation method. So there will be no open trench excavation. Really, it's all directional drilling or impact molding for the water surfaces. Same thing for Money Hill Road, open trench excavation outside of anything on Route 6. Old Shore Road, open trench excavation as well. Every area where we abut the resources, we call for erosion controls, filter sock, and we call for catch basin protection as well. Give a good example of that. Right here. We don't call that right there, but basically right here, silt sack is catch basin protection. But this the dark line with the circles is our filter sock. And we have a detail in the that basically details the filter sock requirements, as well as our silt sack for the catch basin. So Old Shore Road, same thing, we're within the roadway. Then we cross under Route 6 again to go to Old Hay Road. Old Hay Road is an unpaved road at this point. And then we run along Old Hay Road. There are no environmental receptors actually in this area to be concerned of. There's no wetlands. And then we run along down to the well field, which is off Gifts Mill Way, is the access road to the well field. One thing to note in the well field parcel is this area, we've confirmed by Mass Wildlife that this area is subject to priority habitat, and turtle protection measures will need to be in force for this parcel specifically. That usually includes a kind of a construction fence, a silt fence, basically to protect the turtles away from the construction site, as well as a licensed biologist who basically comes out to the site and does an inspection on a routine basis. And all of that needs to be all that needs to be approved by Mass Wildlife during the extent of the project. So for the RDA, I'm just going to jump back to the cover. So for the RDA, there is as part of the wetland regulations, we reference it in the cover letter, is there is a exemption from an NOI filing for the installation of underground utilities within existing paved or unpaved roadways. provided the work is within the roadway. And then the trenches are closed to completion of each workday, which we will enforce. And the other permits that we are going for at this time is, like as I mentioned, the Mass DOT permit, the priority habitat through the Mass Wildlife, and a BRP permit through Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. This is a permit for the water system specifically. Any large modifications to the water system must be approved by Mass DEP. I understand I gave you guys a lot of information, so let me know if you have any questions.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
You're just trenching in the pipe. Is that correct? You're not tearing up the whole road?
Yes. So
Okay.
there will be a, wait, that's a good question. Let me just jump to the detail. We have details for our typical road work. Essentially, the pipe trench pay limit is 3.5 feet in width, and then we call for temporary and permanent pavement on top of it.
Okay.
So the permanent pavement is a little bit beyond that width. We have a 1 foot cutback on each side to ensure that the pavement doesn't settle.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you weren't tearing up the whole road, because then we might want to talk about some stormwater controls. So we're.
But good question. Thank you.
John?
Yeah, this is slightly off our project, but when you go down Briar's Lane, is the project going to be under the existing asphalt completely?
Yes, the pipe will be buried at 5 feet below grade.
Okay, but it's under the asphalt. It's not parallel to the asphalt.
Yes, it's under the asphalt on Briar Lane.
Is there any thought, I mean, if you ran it parallel to the road, which is still within the town still owns that land, we could put a bike lane over the pipe rather than tear up the road. Was that considered?
That was not considered for Briar Lane. I do believe for Briar Lane, the public right of way is actually really narrow in that location. Essentially, the public right of way is essentially the width of the existing pavement out there currently.
Okay, there's not any extra on either side?
It does not appear so. There's some areas where it grows a bit, but then in other areas it gets a little tighter. So we did not, for this project, assess any significant roadway modifications.
Okay.
Leon, I have a question.
Go ahead, Mike.
So first of all, two things. One, I should disclose that I'm a trustee of the Wellfleet Conservation Trust, which is an abutter to the old Truro part of this project. But having disclosed that, I feel I can perform my official duties objectively and fairly. The question I have is in terms of timing. You have the turtle protection protocol. Does that also affect the time of year that you're going to be working?
Mass Wildlife has not indicated that a time of year requirement is necessary for that area. We did indicate that the work within that parcel would take approximately like 30 to 60 days. So we would be, if they do enforce a time of year restriction, it wouldn't be difficult for us to basically enforce that with the contractor, given its limited scope associated with the whole project.
Thank you.
Yeah, because there's definitely certain times of the year when the turtles are out nesting. And that, even though there's no turtle there today, there might be a turtle there tomorrow or tonight. So they move around a lot.
It is my understanding that that's why the biologist is brought in to ensure that the turtles can get around the construction without incident. The fence effectively prevents them from getting into the construction without protection. And then the biologist comes out to effectively appropriately move the turtles where they need to be.
Right, because if you're doing this along the road, if the turtle's trying to get across the road, he's going to run up against a fence, right? So
Yeah, so
something to be considered.
yeah, so the road is not subject to the turtle protection. It is just work on that one parcel of the well field per
Mhm.
Mass Wildlife Review, and their letter regarding their review has been included in the submission.
Are there any other questions from the public or from the commissioners?
One more question, Leon.
Yes.
So I may have missed it, but are you going to have to put up a silt fence along the construction, even though you fill it in every night?
Yes, a filter sock or silt fence, it's another type of silt fence, will be required in all areas where the contractor is working within the 100-foot buffer. So the fence will be installed along the edge of either the edge of road or the edge of the property line, effectively, whichever one is more effective, depending on if the hydrant's going in or anything that exceeds the edge of road. But a silt fence will be installed everywhere we encroach on the 100-foot buffer.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Would someone like to make a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the town of Wellfleet RDA to replace and expand the water main over approximately 1.9 miles.
Okay, so a second.
I second that, Ben.
All right. John, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
and Leon, yes.
Could you
So
identify if that's a -2 or a -3?
I would not know. Hillary, do you have any? Is that a -2 or a -3, Hillary?
It's 3. Sorry, I was muted. And it's a 3. And can we put the condition on that the NHESP letter gets included? Just as a condition, because that has the spelling out of the requirement to avoid a taking of the turtles.
Hillary, will you add that to the folder so I get it all?
It's it's attached to their whole application. It's the
Okay.
last page of their application is the NHESP letter.
What form do we sign?
Determination of applicability.
It's a 5, right?
Okay.
Okay, let's
Thank
move on to,
Thank you, guys.
thank you for the
Thank you.
nice explanation. Okay, Reich and Pierce, 120 Way, Way 657, map 4, parcel 15, an RDA to plant 3 shadbush, 8 bare oaks, and 4 arrowwood.
and this is an after the fact filing, right?
I see. Is there someone here to speak to this?
Gordon was on the line.
Yes, is it appropriate to speak now?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Hillary. It's a little awkward for me because I tend to pride myself on not missing anything. This gentleman, who's also a doctor, had some huge trees and very intimate encounter with his home and deck. And sometime around the winter moth infestation, the trees got nailed as well as other trees in that whole, this is a remote location. However, he's in a kettle and trees grow taller in a kettle hole because they don't have the same stresses. So these things were monsters. Either one of these trees could have cut his house right in half. However, being cautious, I had our arborist go over and I said, hey, take a look at it, thinking he's going to come back to me with a plan to have a crane, because the arborist normally uses a crane close to buildings and everything. Then we had COVID. Everything shut down. I didn't hear from the doctor till a month ago. Now it's 2 months ago. And he said, hey, I really want to get some trees replaced. It turns out, and I'm not saying this in a pejorative way towards any of the participants, I've taken responsibility for it. It turns out when the arborist went over there, I'm thinking there's no way he could have dropped these through these little keyholes without getting leaned on other trees. He dropped both of them through the keyholes. I was wrong. He didn't need a crane. He thought that I had already set things up. I never mentioned one way or another to his favor, but it's an awkward situation for me. I approached Hillary. I gave her true confession. She recommended going ahead and, well, best time to eat crow as well. It's still warm. And she recommended doing an after the fact RDA. And so we've done that. We want to put some replacement biomass in there. The other biomass is down there where we likely would have wanted it to stay as habitat. But we don't really want to put some huge oaks back there right next to the house. So I was proposing 8 bare oaks, 4 arrowwood, and 3 shadbush with the commission's approval in that same area.
Do the commissioners have any questions? Yes, John?
I think it's one, I want to commend Gordon for coming to us. He could just have easily walked away and no one would have known anything. So I as always, I've been impressed with Gordon's uprightness in these things. Second,
Yes, absolutely.
a good plan. I like it, and I would certainly support that we go ahead with it with a positive recommendation.
Is there anybody from the public that has anything to say about this?
If not, Lee and I had one question. I'm sorry.
Sure, Mike, go ahead.
So it's already very heavily vegetated in that area. We went over and we saw the remnants of the trees, but there's a lot of undergrowth in there. Are you going to clear all that out so that the new plantings will survive, or how are you going to treat that?
Well, I think I'm going to have to be selective in terms of what gets planted where. If you'll notice, I tried to be careful with the colorized area for the planting, that we want them to fit in. I'm not going in and taking out anything unless it's invasive, and there's limited amount of invasive out there. The idea is to find and fit in these various rather unassuming species. The bare oaks, I think, will do the best. The shadbush, less sure about. The arrowwood will probably make a good showing, especially since we have all that extra sunlight where the oaks used to be, where you wisely noticed there's now a lot of undergrowth.
And the undergrowth grew because suddenly it's out in the light? Is that?
Party time, yeah.
Let's grow.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Would anyone on the commission like to make a motion?
I move that we approve this.
Second, Michael?
Okay, let's have a vote. Ben,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and John,
Yes.
and me. Yes. Did I get everybody? Yes, all 4 of us. Okay. And I want to thank Mr. Peabody as well. He's obviously a protector of the environment.
I wish everyone who came before us was as upright as Gordon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Peabody. And I understand your awkwardness. Don't let it get you down. You did good.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Goff, 2078 Weatherly Avenue, map 20, parcel 19, an NOI to construct 136 square foot screen porch on pin piles, 200 square foot of native plantings and mitigation. And this is the one that we listened to last time, where we were going to talk about a modified plan for cantilevering the addition.
No, this is a different,
No.
this one's in
This is different?
Harborside.
Pardon me?
This one is new. This one's in Harborside Village.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's okay.
Yeah,
If you wanted to speak. Pardon me. Go ahead, John.
We went and looked at it. It really seems, given what's going on in the Harbor Village, this seemed a very appropriate. It's going to be raised above the ground level. And I think what they want to do is more reasonable, especially given the mosquito issue we had this summer.
Yep.
So I again support yes for this.
Okay.
Is someone going to present the case?
Well, we have Gordon here.
Oh, Gordon.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, Hillary, I wanted to bring up a couple of housekeeping issues. First, we received the DEP number. I'm grateful that the wheels are turning up in Lakeville. Secondly, the screen porch will not be a screen porch. It will not be a covered porch. It'll be a deck or a porch, the one that's going to be built. So that's much less impact. However, someone who may have been sitting at my desk got a little bit of the math wrong with the deck, that it's actually 36 feet bigger. We thought it's going to be 100 feet. The number got bounced around. It's nice and symmetrical. It's actually 136 feet. When I planned the mitigations, I planned 2 to 1. We're going to have a 100-foot deck. We proposed 200 feet of mitigation. So if the deck is going to be a little more than that, I wanted under housekeeping to bring up the fact that instead of just 5 shad bush, we're going to put in 7. And instead of 12 beech plums, we're going to put in 16. And this is going to be on that split rail fence going along on the starboard side of the area, if you look at it from the street. But also, I don't know how the commission feels about this. This is the no-mow fence is an idea that we kind of borrowed from Audubon about 15 years ago. It's a great way to designate where the mower stops. When it's a very unobtrusive, it doesn't have vista issues, it's modest, it fits in with some of the goals that the homeowner has, and I'm hoping the no-mow fence would be approved. Also, it's actually where the split rail fence is dug down and there's only one rail just above the surface that designates where no-mow. And I think it'd be wise to have that up against the native planting thing. We also, I was feeling very bold about putting in a lot of crinkle hairgrass seeds. We collect our own seeds, but I'm thinking we may also put in a few plugs from transplant areas for crinkle hairgrass there.
Okay. Do we know if that area, it's awfully highly densely populated, is turtles or the migration of any animals that we know of involved with this? Anybody know?
There's none that we're aware of in that area.
Yeah.
We are going to be putting up the standard erosion control with fencing
Right.
and wattles where necessary to maintain zero discharge performance standards. And I just spoke with the property owner earlier this afternoon, and she confirmed that their contractor will not be excavating, will not be using concrete, will be using the pin pile foundation system that we recommend on all of our projects now.
Leon, may I ask a question?
You certainly may, Mike. I'll get to you in a minute, John.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
This is in a flooded area. I don't know. I think whether it's technically a flooded area or not, you often get lots of standing water around in here. Is that going to be an issue in terms of the building or the structure?
The structure is going to be raised. The structure is going to be up at the approved elevation.
Right. I was thinking more in the map that you the plan that you have. I guess it's page 1. In the current, you have you don't have the outdoor shower on on the plan. And there is an outdoor shower there, and there's going to be one in the new structure. But as I understand it, that's sort of at the ground level, isn't it?
You mean people would be standing on the ground when they use the shower?
Yes.
That sounds reasonable.
Well, would it be possible, since I think it's just water and soaps and suds and so on just going into the earth, to have, we've asked for this in other properties, to have some sort of a layer of wood chips underneath to process it, and the floor of the shower a little bit higher?
Yeah, in fact, I was not aware of it. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, because we routinely prefer dry wells to have a recharge to the water table. And we prefer to have very low phosphate detergent soaps being used there, if any. And it's prefer calling it a rinse station as opposed to just an outdoor shower. Wood chips could be all right. A small deck, something to stand on would be all right. Would it be appropriate if I were to provide the agent with a cross-sectional sketch of a standing surface, wood surface, and wood chips, and then some gravel beneath it?
Yes, I think that would help, just because even if you tell the people not to use high phosphate, inevitably somebody's going to get that in the water. So I think that would be an improvement. It says on the new plan elevated already, so it's not a major change.
Yeah, I would like to do that. So can we make that a condition, and I can provide that to the agent's office?
Yes, please. That would be very good.
So I think what we're actually looking for is in your dry well that you have stone, then the layer of wood chips, then stone, then your decking.
Okay.
John?
Yeah, I like the idea of Michael's point about the shower, and I appreciate Hillary putting in the what we are looking for. I just want to note, just for the record, that I'm always concerned when we talk about mitigation that there be commensurate, and we've got a structure here, and our mitigation is planting. So the alteration to the shower helps me feel more comfortable about the relationship between planting and a structure. I don't want us to get in a pattern, which we have in the past, of looking for planting as a mitigation against structure. I think planting is a mitigation for planting. That is, if trees come down, trees being planted seems appropriate. Building a structure, I think we need to see something else. But in this particular location, that structure does not, to me, have a significant impact, the added structure, on the resource base. So I have no problem with it. I like the fact that we're modifying the shower in such a way that it'll have less of an impact on the environment than an existing shower. So I like to think of that shower as more of our mitigation. If that makes sense to you, Gordon.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we didn't put that in initially. I appreciate you working with me on that. I would like to do that.
Okay. Does anyone, either in the public or on the commission, have anything to say or ask about this?
One of the abutters was in earlier today, just reviewing the plans. They had no comments.
Okay, good. That's a good sign.
So I
would
propose we okay this plan
all right.
With a condition.
with the conditions of the shower and the changes that Gordon indicated.
Right.
Can I just
Second.
make sure I understand the changes? The deck is going to be 100 square feet, not 136 square feet?
The other way
No,
around.
yeah. I'm just slowing down so I don't roll over myself here. The deck originally, through some sort of misperception at this desk where I'm sitting, we had 100 feet. It's gonna be, oh, deck's gonna be about 100 feet. Well, it's not. It's 136 feet. So we doubled the planting mitigation area from 200 to 270, something like that, 272 feet. We're adding more plants there. Also, the other thing that I saw more as a mitigation, when you look at how things are built, is having it on pin piles so that you touch the earth gently.
Right.
And
Okay, I
Mike,
think
did you,
that's in the narrative. That's in the narrative on the notice of intent.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure it didn't change from that narrative.
okay, so John moved and Mike, did you second?
I second.
Okay, so we'll have a voice vote. Let's start with Ben.
Yes.
And Mike?
I have to disclose that the Wellfleet Conservation Trust is an abutter, but I believe that having disclosed that, I can perform the duties objectively and fairly, and I vote yes.
Good. Thank you. John?
Yes.
And Leon, yes. So you're good to go if you, with the conditions. Do you want to read the conditions, Hillary, just so that we're clear on that?
Yeah, I just have that we're going to add a carbon layer under the dry well beneath the outdoor shower, and that Gordon is going to supply us with a sketch.
All right, great. Well, you're good to go, Mr.
Thank
Peabody.
you very much. Thank you very much for your time. I know these are tricky times, and I really admire your agent and your commission for sticking with it. Thank you very much.
Thank
Do we
you.
want a supervisor?
I'll supervise it.
Michael? Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have Bahan, 265 Ridgeway, map 24, parcel 146, NOI to relocate existing dwelling presently within the buffer zone and placing it into a new foundation outside the buffer zone. New well is required. And where did we leave this last time?
Do we want to read the meeting minutes from the last meeting, just so that
Let's do that, yes, just so that we're all on the same page. Is there someone who can do that? Chris, can you do that?
If it's the June
Yes.
2nd meeting, I can share it on the screen if that helps.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Is that visible?
Yes, it is. That's your
That's your disclosure.
mea culpa.
Oh, I see. I've got the wrong thing up there. How's that? Does that show?
Yes, there we are.
June 2nd.
Right, what did we?
Yeah, at the bottom is that the owner was going to consult with Mr. LaJoy.
Okay. And is that you, Mr. LaJoy?
Yes,
David?
yep.
Okay, so where are we going tonight?
Okay. Think if you all understand what the project is of taking existing dwelling that's in the buffer zone and moving it away from the coastal bank to the extreme west side of the property and have a new foundation, and the building's going to be placed on that, the same building with a new foundation. The area where the dwelling is, the existing dwelling is going to be revegetated. The new relocated building is going to connect to the existing septic system. And I believe there was concerns about we're considering as a Board of Health or as a Conservation Commission, requirements where properties that were a certain distance from a wetland area required alternative treatment. In this case, there's no change in the number of bedrooms. And that's as far as I can recall.
I believe there was also the issue about the leach field being relatively close to the edge and the danger of it being eroded away. And I think the owner was going to consult with you about perhaps moving the septic system.
No, the septic tank and the leach pit are within the buffer zone. They're outside the 50-foot filter strip from the top of the bank, and both exceed over 100 feet from mean high water, which is the Board of Health regulation. So that the existing system complies with the regulations when it was put in, when it is where it is now, except that we're in the filter strip to the top of the bank. I'm sorry, we're outside the 50-foot filter strip. The erosion over there is about 3 feet a year, average. So you have close to 20 years of erosion there before the leach area goes into, the leaching area would be compromised and possibly impacting the coastal bank.
So what you're saying is there's no change as a result of our last meeting and discussion.
I believe we're trying to discuss the requirement or the suggestion that we needed to have a new septic system with alternative treatment. When we aren't changing any bedrooms, the amount of bedrooms, all we're doing is picking up a building and moving it further away and outside the 100-foot buffer zone to the bank.
Okay, I'll go to the commission first. Oh, Hillary, yes.
Question. David, I looked through the office today to try and put my hands on the Title V septic inspection report. I could not locate it anywhere.
Yeah, I apologize. I haven't done it yet. I just physically did it and saw that it was in satisfactory condition. I'll need
Okay.
to supply you with an actual report if that's what you want.
Okay, that would be great. And the other thing I couldn't find in the file was a design plan for the system in the ground. Do you have a copy of that as well?
I do. It was done for a prior owner.
Okay, so if I could get copies of both of those items, it would be helpful for me to evaluate the septic system in its current capacity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions? Okay, Mr. Zender, you have your hand up.
I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for recognizing me. And I'm not sure, do I need to actually remove my hand now at that point? That would be, I'll
Yeah,
lower
that
my
would-
hand.
There we go. Let's remove your hand.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm here on behalf of Susan Behan, and I'm here, on behalf of the applicant. And I understood that the commission wanted to see a septic system inspection report. And I think it's incumbent upon David to file that inspection report. But the septic system itself and the requirements for its installation and its continued existence, in the absence of an alteration on the site that's changing the septic system, meaning if it's being removed or replaced, isn't really within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. The system, as David said, it meets all the health requirements, but that's really not in front of you. What's in front of you is whether the application for removal of this house from the buffer zone and relocation outside of the buffer zone meets the requirements for a notice of intent and an order of conditions, meaning the no adverse impact standard. And I don't think there's any question that everybody here, the applicant, the commission, the community, want this house to be removed from where it is and move further back. The septic system itself, because it's not being altered and it's not being changed, doesn't constitute an alteration that would require, for example, a notice of intent or order of conditions. The only nexus of this septic system to the project from an alteration standpoint is the fact that when the commissioners look at the plan that David's prepared, it looks like there's a waste line that's going to be constructed from the new located dwelling to the existing septic tank. And it looks like that septic line crosses over the buffer zone line. and I'm awful with math, which is why I went to law school, but it looks like it might be, I'm guessing 10 or 15 feet, maybe 20 feet. They're going to have to connect the septic system to the existing waistline. So there's really no alteration that's being requested for the septic system itself. So I don't really think this commission has the jurisdiction to, for example, require IA. It's sort of the same as saying, look, we'll give you approval to rebuild your house if you don't build your beach stairs. It's an unrelated aspect. I understand that the commission is looking at additional conservation regulations, which would require the installation of IA, for properties within a certain number of feet of a resource, and that may be more than 100 feet. And I think that's certainly within the power of the Conservation Commission to adopt those regulations and to see if those get passed. And if those do get passed, I think that this property is going to have to comply with those regulations at some point. Additionally, I believe that there's going to come a point in the future when this septic system is going to have to be relocated because of erosion. As David said, it could be a number of years in the future. And at that time, looking at this plan, it's probably going to require variances from the Board of Health, which in effect would trigger the discussion of IA, as well as your future regulation may address that. But I think for this project, I would ask that this board, give Susan permission to get the structure out of the buffer zone, connect to the existing septic system, and then address that septic system when it becomes necessary to address it. And thank you for listening to me tonight.
Right. And we understand your points, and we also understand the limits of what we can do. Does anyone else have any communications they'd like to, or questions? Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion? Seems nobody wants to. Okay, I'll move.
Wait a minute, there's a request from Jean Compass.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Ms. Compass.
I'm here on behalf of the abutter, Karen Elbing. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say, I understand Attorney Zender's points, but I will say that unlike beach stairs in a house, a septic is intricately related to the house here. And it doesn't just service this proposed house being relocated, but it also serves the other house on the lot. So the life of not just one, but both houses is totally dependent on that septic. You have a leach field that's closer to the coastal bank than the house proposed to be relocated. It frankly doesn't make any sense to relocate and try to save a house without trying to save the septic as well. And I think the problem here faced by Ms. Behan is that there's only so much room on this lot, and she wants to ensure that that house gets relocated as far back as possible rather than the septic, where it should be the other way around, because again, the life of either house is only as long as the life of this septic. The other thing is that in the future, if the septic is relocated, this is a post-2003 lot, or it should be. When back in 2013, a condition of a special permit was that this lot be combined with an adjacent lot also owned by Ms. Behan, thereby creating a new lot. I don't think the A&R has been completed, but the assessor's card shows that the lots were combined sometime in 2017. So at that point, that gives her greater difficulty in overcoming a regulation requiring that all work be located outside the buffer zone for post-2003 lots. The reality here is that she's proceeding in this piecemeal fashion to kind of get what she wants and then see what happens later down the road. It's not the best case for the environment. You're going to have disruption to this coastal bank through the removal of this existing foundation. And then in the very near future, you're going to have to disturb this bank again, removing the septic. It makes much more sense. And I think that's what the commission decided at its last hearing, that it's best to relocate these at the same time. And I think the minutes read tonight were from June, whereas the last hearing was in July. And it seemed clear to me that in July, the commission members were in favor of moving the septic back. And if it could not be moved back, you wanted to know why. And that hasn't been provided. And I think it's well within your right to require that this septic, which is an integral part of this house, be relocated at the same time as the house.
May I ask you a question? What is really bothering your client about this whole situation? Surely she's not worried about the septic system.
Well, she is worried about the septic system. It's adjacent to her house. It's near her drinking well. So yes, she is worried about the septic. In the bigger picture, and she's here and she can speak to it as well, but there was a special permit issued back in 2013 for work on both houses on this lot. And that was appealed by my client and others, and a private settlement was reached. And the clear intent of that settlement agreement was that no further work would be done on this property. And here we are several years later proposing work on this property. And I understand that most of my client's issues are related to zoning, not conservation. But again, we're here because she's not sticking to her word. And she's proceeding in this, you can see if you look back at your town records from the last decade, everything is done in a piecemeal fashion. And, the A&R plan was never recorded to avoid the 2003 regulation. It's just a series of missteps and dishonesty. And frankly, she's not supposed to be doing anything else on this property.
Let's make sure that we stick with actions and not impugn the character of anybody, please. I don't believe that we have and Hillary, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, currently, we have no legal ground to stand on as far as making any commitments. And the fact is, as far as the house and working on the property, the house is going to fall into the beach if we don't move it. So that isn't meaningful to me, that this agreement from 7 years ago or 8 years ago said we won't do anything more to the property. They've got to do something to the property.
So they should move the house back if there's land enough to move the house back. Obviously, that's sensible. We don't want any structures falling down off the coastal bank into the ocean. That being said, I can't speak to the functionality of the existing septic system in the ground. At this point in time, I don't have a design plan in the office. I don't have a septic inspection report. I don't know how it's functioning. Right. That being said, once a building permit comes in, we review all of that again. So if David can supply those things, we could have a look at that before our next meeting if the commission is interested in continuing this again, so that we can review those documents. Because I guess I would hate to see us approve this, then have them come back before us in another month with a plan to put in the septic system that we have on a previous plan, because the one they have in the ground isn't suitable. So I mean, it's up to you how you choose to handle it. I don't think at this time we have the ability to require an enhanced IA system or even an IA system under the regulations that we have. So the choice is yours, how you wish to proceed.
Well, okay, but the efficacy of the existing system is a Board of Health issue. Is that right?
Well, it's a Board of Health issue, yes, but you also have to approve piping to it.
John?
It's also, the Board of Health has a different agenda than the Conservation Commission. Board of Health is to make sure that bacteria does not get into the drinking water, and hence their concern over the septic system. Our concern is pollutants getting into the resource area. And so I think it's not that it's a mistake to sort of say this is a Board of Health issue and not a conservation issue. It seems to me we both play a role in this, but from different concerns and different perspectives. I am still amazed that the request is to move a house because it's too close to the bank and is liable to go under, but the septic system, the leach field of the septic system, which is closer to the bank, is not being addressed. I could not vote in favor of this with that problem still unresolved. And since we only have 4 members, of the commission. If I abstain, it's dead in the water anyway. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay, Mr. Zander, go ahead.
Yeah, can the board hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to correct one statement of Attorney Campus, and I'll read the settlement agreement. It says any future alterations or movement of the structures on the Behan property will conform to the Wellfleet zoning bylaws and will be subject to the Board of Appeals permitting process, meaning the parties intended at that time that if in fact Susan wanted to make further movement of her structures, which we all understood may happen, we would have to go through the permitting process. I know the chair has already identified that's not really relevant, but I don't want that statement to stand out there.
Okay.
Second, to address Hillary's point, and I think we're all kind of saying the same thing. Look, if in fact the septic system fails inspection, which I don't believe it will because David's already represented that he's inspected, it's okay. And if we were required to upgrade the septic system now with the Board of Health, and that would open up the questions of IA, it would open up the question of location and all those things, we would have to come before your board for an order of conditions to undertake all that activity. So I don't think by approving the movement of the house, this board is giving up its authority to regulate and oversee any alteration of the septic system that goes on up there. So I don't think that that's really a concern. I think Hillary was right. It would be nice to have it all in one tidy package, but Susan, as the owner of this property with a septic system that's fully functioning and meets all of the Board of Health regulations, that is, I can't remember what the number of feet from the coastal bank it was that David said it was, there's really no reason for her to get in there and dig that up if she doesn't have to. So we really are hopeful that the board will just allow her to move forward and understanding also that once this board issues an order of conditions, we still have to go to the zoning board. And we're going to have a fight on our hands with the zoning board. This isn't going to happen right away. So we're just asking you to authorize us to move this house. We can then take the next step. And if we do have to upgrade that septic system, which we will, it's going to happen. As sure as I'm talking to you, you'll see it again. And you'll be able to impose whatever conditions you think are appropriate for either the location or the construction of that septic system. And I hope that addresses Mr. Cumberland's concerns as well.
Can I ask a question? Is it fair for us to consider seeing on the plan a location farthest from the top of the bank where the leach field could go at this time? Because I think we would want to see the leach field landward of the house if that's an option.
Well, first of all, I don't think it is an option because, as the board can see where the house is going, there really is no room to locate the septic system landward of the house. It defeats the purpose of moving everything back. So look, David can certainly locate a leach field on the plan and present it to the Conservation Commission, but it's getting back to the idea of having the Conservation Commission rather than the Board of Health trying to regulate the location of that septic system. And I think that when it's time to move that septic system, it's going to have to go to the Board of Health because there are going to be variances from all kinds of, different distances that are required. I think it's going to have to come to both boards at that time, and so we can find the best solution that we can get. I would respectfully submit that the neighbor is not trying to regulate where the septic system goes so much as trying to use the septic system location as a way of preventing the applicant from moving her house back. And so I'd hate to think the commission would get involved in that particular analysis.
No, I think, from my perspective, I think if we could see a future location of the septic system on the plan far enough away, and I could receive those documents in hand to review what's currently in the ground, at least then we have a roadmap going forward because we know that you're moving the house back, but that leach pit's just hanging there. And I'm not so sure it's going to last there another 20 years. I understand the math Dave gave us, but I have a feeling that might be the best case scenario, and we're not seeing any best case scenarios these days. So I would just ask that because these lots were combined, we do want to see a location outside the buffer zone to situate all these components, because that's only fair, and that is, according to our regulations, what we would want to see.
And through the chair,
Excuse me. Go ahead, Ben.
Through the chair, I don't think that's unreasonable. We can certainly, if the board wants to allow us to continue this and come back and show you a proposed septic location, that's fine. But, what we'd like to see, we don't want to go and spend that money and come back just to see a denial. Right now I've got 4 members sitting here on the line, which I need all 4 votes. If the members aren't going to approve this, we'd rather just have you, approve it per the condition on the IA and then let us appeal it if we have to appeal it. So, we're certainly happy to do that work if it would help us all come to a solution that works for everybody. And
Well,
thank you for listening.
Speaking for myself, I think it would help to see the way forward, the roadmap. And I also agree that the prime concern for me is getting the house out of the buffer zone. And the leach field is also a key element, but that can be moved if we are shown a place where it can go.
And then you have the roadmap to go forward. If we have an incredible erosional year, then we can just say it's time to move on that. Because as we've seen this past year, it's incredibly difficult to get engineers and land surveyors on the job in any short amount of time.
Understood. I hope I didn't step on David's toes in terms of there might be a reason why he thinks that is or isn't a good idea.
No, I have a plan where it's 99% gonna include IA treatment. At that point, when there's a failure or there's something where the septic system has to be addressed, it'll be a system with IA treatment located on the site.
That sounds great.
All right. It sounds like we need. I move that we continue this. Get the paperwork. If we took a vote right now, it would not fly. So let's do that. And we'll
Is
go
it fair
forward.
to, excuse me, is it fair to ask Mr. Kumbler if we provide a plan showing where alternative treatment would go in the future? Would that allow him to be able to approve this, keeping the existing septic system for now until there's a failure?
I can't answer that. I do know that we will have more members of the commission present for our next meeting. So if I find I can't support it, that doesn't mean it's dead in the water. It still have the possibility of getting another vote. I think the difficulty here is there are 4 members and I'm just too uncomfortable. I'd have to abstain with now, and I have no idea what I'll say even when I see it in the future. I would like to see the septic system, especially the leach field, moved before I say yes. So
Okay, thank you.
continuance would be in your best interest and certainly in the interest of the commission.
We're requesting, I'm sorry, Dave, we're requesting the continuous.
And I would second Leon's motion to continue.
All right. Let's take a vote. Ben,
Yes.
John,
And we have a date.
It's September 1st, our next meeting.
oh, we'll have an extra week on that one. John, how do you vote
Yes.
for the continuance? And Mike,
Yes.
sorry, you're scattered all over the grid here.
Yes.
And Leon says yes for the continuance. So let's get that paperwork in. This is,
Thank you all for your time, as always.
all right.
This is what form
Can I
do we?
say one thing, please, before we leave this?
John, there's no form for continuance.
Yeah, for
Okay.
continuance.
Uh,
Okay,
that we still have a comment from the Jean Campus.
Oh,
All right,
go ahead.
no, it's my client Karen, I think, who wishes to speak.
Yes, I just wanted to say one thing in response to Ben Zender's comments. So there are 2 other houses on Ridgeway Road besides Miss Behan's, and both houses are concerned about this. And it is a Conservation Commission concern. There's been a lot of damage to that lot. Trees have been cut down. The lot's been cleared, and we just want to see the whole picture before we go forward to make sure that that it is true that there is room for everything and that the septic system is taken into account, because right now It's very close to the edge of the dune. Both houses depend upon it. And it just strikes me as making no sense to have the septic system be the first thing to fall into the ocean, both from a common sense perspective and an environmental perspective. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, let's move on to the next hearing. Oyer, 83 Samoset Avenue, map 28, parcel 113, NOI for renovation and addition to a single family residence, I take it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David Little, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
David Little representing Timothy and Joanne Oyer. They are proposing to renovate their existing dwelling. The work will, for the most part, be within the footprint of the structure. There is a 17 square foot increase in the house that occurs over an existing deck. There is no increase in bedrooms. They're essentially trying to create a little more space for the family. They're proposing a dormer on the house and a second floor over the existing garage. The work, as far as what will touch the ground, there will be one new footing that will be dug within the footprint of the existing dwelling to support a beam. And there would be one sonotube footing that would be dug within the deck to support the proposed addition. We believe that all the work can be done on the site without impacts to the resource areas, which are the coastal storm flowage and the top of the coastal bank, and the Wellfleet Harbor ACEC. I thought of filing an RDA, but I thought to be safe, I would file an NOI for the project. We believe that it's a very straightforward project. It's a very tight lot. They know their neighbors. They'll work with their neighbors to make sure that the construction can occur in a manner that is appropriate. A dumpster would obviously remain on site to contain any construction debris. And on our plan, we've noted that all stormwater runoff would be contained by gutters and downspouts or stone at the roof drip line. I'm not sure what else that to say at this point, Mr. Chairman, but I would turn it over for questions. Thank you very much.
We went out and visited the site this morning. Does any of the commissioners have a question or observation? John, go ahead, John.
This seems like a fairly straightforward project because it is increasing even slightly the footprint, and certainly the impact on the resource base will be impacted by the greater space. I would suggest for mitigation that that the outdoor, there is an outdoor shower on the property, is there not? I just want to remember.
Yes, there is.
That the outdoor shower be modified in the way we're advocating all outdoor showers be modified now, which is to put a gravel pit, carbon-based gravel, and then slightly raised bed. If you could modify the outdoor shower in that way, I think that would function as a mitigation to the disturbance that will further impact that this addition will require.
Of course, I heard that at one of the earlier hearings this evening, and we would be happy to provide or to have that as a condition of approval.
Right. Does anybody from the public have anything to say on this subject? Okay. John, you seem to be, are you comfortable with that enough to make a motion?
Yeah, I will move that we approve this with the condition of the modification of the outdoor shower. I think is a nice mitigation. So I propose we accept this with that condition.
Second, Michael.
Second.
Okay, all right. Mike, how do you vote?
Yes.
John,
Yes,
Ben,
Yes.
and Leon, yes. So you're good to go.
Thank you
Supervisor,
thank you very much. Hillary, you look like you're in a Walt Disney movie with the tall grasses behind you.
That's right. She's got ants for pets.
Hillary, I can supervise it because I don't live very far.
I've got issues these days and they're only getting worse.
Thank you very much.
what
You're
form
welcome.
is this? What
Hillary,
form?
did you have something you wanted to say after?
No.
Okay,
No, I just wanted a supervisor and we got one.
What is the
Okay.
form? Hillary, what form?
Order of conditions.
that's a 2, I think, isn't it?
3.
3?
I don't get hung up on the
I've
form.
never,
It's an
All
order
right.
of conditions. I don't know the form number off the top of my head.
yeah, I don't either. I think Christine ought to be responsible for sending us
2.
an email saying, here's what I expect from you guys.
Oh, we're
I think
putting
that would be a
more on
good thing.
Kristen.
I
I
can
feel like
hold
she
your
does do
hands
that,
if I
doesn't
have
she?
to.
She sends me notices telling me I'm late, which I usually am.
I'll hold your hands.
Thanks again.
Yes, our
And I'll
hands
make
need
sure
to be
you
held.
have it.
That allows us to focus on the important stuff. you see.
That's exactly correct.
Mr. Oyer, did you have something you wanted to say? You're muted. I'm sorry, you're muted.
I
Just press
wanted
your
to
space.
thank the commission for your time and also for the obvious care that you pay to all of these projects. I think we all benefit from it. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. And you're most welcome. All right, let's move on to Cushman, map 36, parcel 99, 45 Grove Avenue, and NOI to install sand-filled core envelopes and core logs as a shoreline protection. Construct a first floor addition, first floor deck, and access stairs. We've heard this before.
Yes.
Where did we leave it, David?
Okay, we left it as trying to decide whether we were gonna lift the building, modify the addition, so forth. What we'd like to do now is just remove that from the whole application and just ask for your approval to put in the bank stabilization.
Mhm. John?
I proposed that we do this last time, so I obviously think this is a good idea. I move that we accept the modification, the installation of sand-filled coral envelopes and logs for shoreline protection. It's a good idea. It's, I think that as long as there's protection for turtles and other wildlife, I strongly support that we support this.
Okay.
David, can we just request a plan, a revised plan that just shows the section AA and just takes the proposed addition off so we have something for the file?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
A second, Ben.
All right. Mike, how do you vote?
Well, I have to disclose that the Wellesley Conservation Trust is in a butter, but I can still act objectively, and I would vote yes.
That's 3 in one night. Okay, John. How do you
Yes.
vote? Ben
Yes.
and Leon, yes. So that can move forward.
Just a quick question here on beach nourishment. Are we considering a beach nourishment or are we just going to keep these covered with sand at all times? What's your pleasure? We have the salt marsh in front of it that we don't want to kill with sand.
And it's not a high velocity zone, so
No, it's not.
we probably don't need to have,
I wouldn't think so.
Okay, so perhaps just a condition that the quar logs remain covered with sand, evaluated perhaps on a yearly basis.
Yes,
Yes.
we want the sand to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll work up some language there.
Okay. But we still have approved it, right, Hillary?
I think I may have cut you off from a vote, but no, maybe I didn't. No, I
No,
think
you
you did.
didn't.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
you didn't. We
Okay.
voted. Neener, neener, neener.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Yes, that's a good approach. Get the non-controversial things done, and move forward with the others. And finally, there's a request for a continuation of Bromberg. We need to vote on that. I move that we continue it until the 1st of September.
Second, Michael.
Okay, let's have a vote. John,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
and Leon, yes. And we don't need a form for that.
Nope.
And Christine?
We do have two folks on the line. I don't know if they're here for something special or they're just observing. Perhaps they want to join the commission. If they want to talk to us.
Yeah,
all ears.
there's more fun to be had here. And having a broader range of opinions and backgrounds helps too. I think that personally, I'm not qualified other than caring about the environment. So the other two people, Janice and Ducat, do you have, I take it that's the last name. Is there anything you'd like to say or anything? I guess not. They're both muted. So, okay.
Sorry,
Yes.
I just said, just a builder participating in was just listening, background music. Thank you.
Okay. Not quite as good as heart radio, but
Yeah.
okay, I would like to hear a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second, Ben.
Okay, John, how do you feel about that?
Yes.
Mike,
Fixed
Yes.
dinner.
Yes.
was that a yes, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, Ben
Yes.
and Leon, yes. Okay,
Thank
we are adjourned. Please turn off.
Thank
the
you,
recording.
everybody. Great meeting. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
not quite as speedy as the last one, but